Entrepreneurship is not just about building a business, it's about becoming the person capable of leading it. Welcome to the Voice of Impact, where belief meets action. Our podcast amplifies stories, systems, and solutions behind meaningful change. I'm your host, Robert Ndoping. Today's conversation is about building a successful business. It's about building real change, strategy, entrepreneurship, and inner transformation. My guest today is Raeanne Lacatena, a holistic business life and success coach, a licensed counselor, an author who has helped entrepreneurs integrate personal growth with business success. With nearly 2 decades of experience as a licensed mental health counselor, Raeanne has worked with individuals and organizations to help them uncover the unique strength, overcome internal barriers, and design their lives to align with their deepest values and potential. As a holistic business and mindset coach, she blends psychology, communication, emotional awareness, and strategic insight to guide entrepreneurs in becoming the best version of themselves, not just professionally, but personally as well. Her philosophy is simple, yet powerful. Who you are anywhere is who you are everywhere. Ryan believes that true success happens when entrepreneurs integrate every aspect of their lives, their mindsets, relationships, health, purpose, and business into a unified, authentic path. She's the author of the book, The Integrated Entrepreneur, which explores the idea that entrepreneurship is often a personal development journey disguised as a financial opportunity. Her work helps entrepreneurs break through limiting beliefs, align with their mission, and build businesses that support both impact and fulfillment. Raeanne, welcome to the Voice of Impact.
No, thank you for such a wonderful introduction, Robert. I'm happy to be here.
We are also happy to have you, and we know there will be a listener that really wants to know your personal journey. I mean, before becoming a business coach and author, the programs you run, what brought you into this path? What is your story?
It's such a wise question because I really believe philosophically that life is a journey, not a destination, and that there are often twists and turns along the way that you wouldn't expect, and that those parts of your path are a part of what makes you who you are. And so I've always known I was going to be a helper. Ever since I was a little girl, I felt validated, and that felt like a purpose for me to help other people. So it's a deep part of my core essence as a woman of service who wants to make a big impact and help as many people as possible along the way. And so my journey has been unfolding this beautiful flower of what does it mean to be a helper, and playing in different sandboxes and figuring out first what that means to me and then helping other individuals do the same. I started my career as a mental health therapist. My first deep love and career was in pediatric palliative care. So I was helping families and children through life-threatening illnesses and through their process of either recovery from that disease process or unfortunately death. And I often say that the gift that these families gave me, there are bountiful gifts that came from that work early in my life and in my career. I learned about all the hard lessons and the hard conversations in life. Why God? What's it all mean? Why are we even here? Why them? Why not me? What finances, collaboration, communication, every single topic you could possibly come to came to the foreground when you're looking at the death of a child potentially. And so I got to have some of those hard internal conversations and external lessons very quickly in my early 20s. And one of the things that I learned, one is the fragility of life, right? That we don't, tomorrow's not guaranteed. And so I have this natural urgency. That helper in me was matched with urgency to help as many people as possible because tomorrow is not necessarily guaranteed. But then also, I started to learn more about who I am as a human being through the eyes of these difficult situations. And one of the things that I learned about myself is that I'm an empath. I see things, hear things, and feel things more deeply and more clearly than other people do. I didn't know that about myself. I had just thought I was a sensitive person. But I learned in the face of this very acute work that I am an empath and that I can see things and do things differently than others. And so I then adopted becoming a Reiki master, first out of my own self preservation to learn how to manage my energy and my emotions. And that culminated in me becoming a business coach. I know that that seems like a left turn, but I was having one of those existential moments where I was like, why another young life when I lost another one of my kiddos? And I was lucky enough to be intercepted by a mentor who said to me, "Do you know that sales is the entry point to service?" I was like, "What?" What I got it though in that moment that there's different ways to help and that there are different ways that we can continue to impact people. And so I started to get curious about this. And fast forward, I did join him in his coaching program to teach entrepreneurship and to help all different types of entrepreneurs in the effort of bringing their service, their mission, their purpose to the world. And so I work with mission driven people who want to make impact in building a heart centered business. That's really what I'm here for. And when I got into this world of business coaching, working with these particular people and I blossomed. I found my true love. I found my Ikigai, the intersection of what I'm good at, what the world needs, what I can be paid for, frankly, which is part of the Ikigai, and what my purpose is. And so I brought that forward through business coaching, and I have found my deep love in the work that I do. Since then, I've become a mom of three kiddos myself, and they're now another version of my spiritual teachers in the process of bringing this work into the world. And I work with a lot of entrepreneurs who are also parents. It's not necessarily the only type of person I work with, but knowing this, the beauty that comes from the spirit of working with children and teaching children as a parent, as a provider, it really helps to bring the beginner's mind, that curiosity, that joy, that pleasure that is often left out of what is necessary to build a successful business. It's not just about strategy and and money, currency. It's also about fun and laughter and joy and purpose. And that's what the kiddos teach every single day and just naturally in the essence of who they are. So that's a little bit about my journey.
Oh, wow. I mean, you mentioned a couple of things that fully aligns with me.
Yeah.
Mission driven, Ikigai. I mean, you couldn't have used better words. You just touched on words that I know there's somebody listening that wants to know more. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, in your journey or in working with entrepreneurs, what have you found or noticed with that emotional struggle that entrepreneurs face in their journey? And
Mm.
what are some things that could help them start on the right path?
Well, my as my journey has evolved, the types of entrepreneurs that I work with has also evolved. And so there's what I've found is that there's different stages of entrepreneurship and there's different entry points to entrepreneurship. So the limiting beliefs or the struggles or the challenges that come from, for example, starting as an entrepreneur after being in corporate for a long time are different than someone who inherits a business, are different from someone who is doing a side hustle, who are different from someone who doesn't believe that they can be a business owner but wants to be a business owner. And even so, even though there's different nuances in the changes or the entry points of business ownership, there are still some core beliefs that people struggle with along the way, whether they're brand new in business, they're evolving in business, they're unsure about business, or whether they're experienced in business. The core tenets are: I'm not good enough, I am not worthy, I do not belong. So these limiting beliefs show their head in different levels. I call it spiral learning because we spiral back to these things that limit us in the process of evolving. And so if you had an I am not enough thought process that came with you along the way, it's going to show up in your business. And that's what I mean when I say in the book that the business is a brilliantly disguised personal development plan, because those things in your head that you think when you are on your own, or when the going gets tough, or when there's something challenging in your business, those limiting beliefs are going to show themselves. So I see those common ones of I am not good enough, I don't belong, I don't have enough. Those show themselves along the way.
Thank you for that. And I mean, a lot of what you've done, I mean, your work presents entrepreneurship as a personal journey or personal development, just like you mentioned, disguised as a business opportunity. I mean, what does that really mean?
Mm-hmm. So when we face these challenges and we have these limiting beliefs, the business becomes a mirror. It's showing us who we're being. It's showing us where we're getting in our own way. It's showing us the types of thoughts that we tend to default to, the types of emotions that we're holding in our body and our experience. It's showing us our scarcity, our fears, our doubts, our worries. And so when something happens, one of the here we are just approaching tax time. And April 15th is a big day for business owners. And so during this tax time, I'll have lots of conversations with business owners. For example, a business owner who's earned way more money this year than they ever have. And then on April 15th, or usually soon before that, they're hit with a big tax bill. And so even though they've made so much more money in their business, they fall into scarcity, into fear, into doubt, into worry, into upset, because they've not healed their money story internally, because they still don't believe that they're going to have another good year, that they don't have enough money. Even though they made so much money, they either have not saved properly, which is another mirror, or they've overspent, or they're hoarding money and they don't want to send it to the government. That lots of different things come up when a trigger happens in the business. And so these parts of us also exist in our relationships at home, in our parenting, and our feelings about our body, and our feelings about the world. And so that's what I mean when I say who we are anywhere is who we are everywhere. If we have a natural scarcity trigger when taxes hit, we probably are having scarcity at home, in our relationships, and our personal finances, and all over the place in our life. And so it becomes a indicator, it becomes a pattern that we're able to see. And business is just one of those many categories that exist in the totality of who we are as a human being. So that business can mirror to us, where are those areas that I'm getting in my own way? Where are those areas that I might be negatively impacting other people or my own growth and development? And that becomes the most interesting deep work that I do with clients, because I have these gifts that other business coaches don't, the Reiki master side of things, the counseling side of things, the emotional freedom technique practitioner. There's lots of tools that I've learned in these 2 decades that I can help people literally reprogram their brains, their bodies, their energy, their identity, so that they can build the capacity that they need to overcome what used to be those thought processes that get in their own way. So that maybe you still have the tax situation, it triggers a negative thought inside of you, but that immediately after you say, thank you. Thank you for the gift of earning so much more money this year. And thank you for the opportunity to give back to the people of my country, of my town, of my city, of my state, so that I can be of service in addition to earning more money. And so we're able to change those belief systems in the moment, override our default mode network in our body and our brain, and step into a new way of being, thinking, doing, behaving that allows us to continue to grow.
Rian, I mean, when you touch on those areas, something just comes to mind, which I really need to ask you. What role does identity play in entrepreneurship?
Mm. Well, that's a great question. And I know we said we have about 45 minutes. Identity is everything in entrepreneurship, right? Just even let me start from a new business owner. I have plenty of new early business owners who will reject the word entrepreneur as an identity because they believe that they haven't earned the right to say that in their identity. And they'll have imposter syndrome in their identity because they don't believe they know enough or they've done enough of that they're successful enough to own that as their identity. And if you carry those identity markers and beliefs into your business, it's going to affect your success. Or the identity, of the experienced entrepreneur, where I often now at this stage in my career, I'm often working with very successful entrepreneurs who've made incredible businesses. But what got them to that level is not what's going to get them there. And so the word entrepreneur means to work together on some level. It's a rough translation of the word entre, together, belonging. And so they're moving from solopreneur to entrepreneur, maybe, and they now have a team and they have vendors and they have different people that are working with them for them towards the mission that they have in the world. And so they have to learn how to drop the identity of I do everything by myself to the identity of working with a team and sharing responsibility and that leadership identity that's necessary in working together with people versus working on everything by yourself. So that's another identity shift that needs to happen as we're building our business. And they happen over and over and over. One of the lines that I say in my book is that business is a series of deaths and rebirths. And I'm talking about identity in that there are parts of us that literally need to die in order for us to be reborn into the next version of ourselves that has the capacity to hold the business as it stands in this next iteration.
Wow, I'm learning too. So when you were speaking earlier, you mentioned a couple of things, especially internal barriers, imposter syndrome, and I mean there are a couple of other things which I could add also. You know, being a performance consultant, there's perfectionism, there's overworking. I mean, in your own journey, what are some internal barriers that hold entrepreneurs the most?
Hmm. The most. It's themselves. That's my experience anyway. And that is why I tend to gravitate towards the internal work because it's usually their own default patterns, their own thoughts, their own emotions, their own childhood, their own energy capacity, their own beliefs, their own worldview that gets in the way of them being as successful as they possibly could. And while that might sound like a hard truth, I actually celebrate it because the only person in the whole wide world that you can actually change is yourself. And so when people get put off by that, I actually celebrate it. I'm like, ooh, another thing that I'm doing, I can get it, I can change. Fantastic. I'm getting in my own way again. Excellent. Because I can actually effectuate change in myself and my own thoughts and my own emotions. But if someone else is the primary barrier to my success, then I have less control. I have less ability to change that situation. And so when it is themselves, I invite them to find that to be an asset as opposed to a problem. And that's why we really focus on where are the areas that we can change within ourselves in order to grow. Now, that doesn't mean that there are not external barriers to success. But when we have a strong internal identity foundation and we understand our thoughts, our emotions, our beliefs, when we understand our own way of being in the world, then when we get to an external barrier, we can be the river that goes around that rock instead of get stuck by it because we can adjust ourselves in relationship to that external barrier. And so I'm all about finding the ways to control from the internal world to help people to move forward instead of getting stuck on something external in our world. I mean, the world is suffering in so many ways, and we can choose to focus on what's not working with what's outside of us, or we can choose to be an impetus to change right here at home in ourselves so that we can be a beacon of light and change and a vessel of growth moving forward.
Yeah, and I mean, when you were answering, you talk about your work and, for you as a person. And I know your book and your programs focus on something you call integrated entrepreneur. What does that integration mean in this context?
It actually means so many things to me. If you're asking about how I got there in the process of naming the book and the programs, to me, one of the ways that we integrate as an entrepreneur is that our past, what's happened prior to this day, impacts us. What the future is going to hold is important, but we only have what is right here and right now. And so some of the integration process is the integration of the past, the present, and the future. We can't ignore what happened to us in the past. And we can't stick our head in the sand about where we want to go. We also don't want to lose the beauty that happens in the present moment. And so when we honor what happened to us in the past, we prepare for what's coming in the future, but we do so from a grounded place in the presence. That's an integration of the three time zones that exist in our life, whether we like it or not, right? So that's one integration. Another integration that I often talk about is what I call the masculine and the feminine. And I believe that there are two energies on a spectrum that come together, integrate to create wholeness in the human experience, but also in the natural world. The masculine side in business that needs to be integrated is the structure, the linear, the numbers, the currency, the vision of the future. That's that very linear piece that is going to power the business forward. But without the feminine integration, which is the joy, the pleasure, the fun, the collaboration, the community, the connection, that the masculine overpowering the feminine or the feminine overpowering the masculine, the business doesn't work, in my humble opinion. And so finding the integration of both of those worlds is one of the reasons I exist in the world, is to help people integrate both the feminine aspects of business and the masculine aspects of business, because as in business and all things in nature, we need both in order to be successful. The analogy that I give for that one is that the masculine is the riverbank and the feminine is the river. And the river without the riverbank is a problem, and the riverbank and vice versa is a problem. And so we want to find the middle road in that as well. And then the other one I'll share, there's so much more. Obviously, this is my life's work, and so I could talk about this one for days too. Is that I already alluded to? There's the integration of all the seemingly separate parts of ourselves. Sometimes we tend to compartmentalize, for example, our personal life and our professional life, our parenting life and our business relationships, our financial life versus our spiritual life. That a lot of people will come to me splintered in all these different parts of themselves. And what I stand for is bringing it all together. Like I said, an easy example is my children teach me every day how to better improve my business. They teach me ways that I am forgetting as an adult who gets, stuck in the adult world, that there are some ways to build business that are actually present in every child's life. They teach me because they're closer to their likeness and their essence. They remind me what's important. They give me perspective. And so why wouldn't I integrate my parenting life into my business life? It seems like a missed opportunity. And so what I teach people is how to borrow and reintegrate all those parts of themselves into one whole. And that operating business from wholeness, first of all, just feels better. It also works better because when you're fully, wholly aligned and authentically you're using, instead of jumping back and forth to all these different splintered parts of yourself, you're operating in a straight line forward with all of yourself. And so those are just a couple of ways that shows up in the work that I do.
Yeah, I really enjoy the way you explain all of those angles. It really brings a beauty onto it. There's one piece that I just want to ask you, which is mindset integration. In your opinion, is mindset integration part of this whole mix? And how could that link to things like purpose and strategy?
Yeah, I mindset is another part of a whole, is really what I've come to. And sometimes the work that I do gets labeled, and I think you even said that in my introduction today, that I'm a mindset coach. And that is certainly part of it. But mindset, absent in of the physical body, that there's body work that needs to happen in order to move forward. Mindset absent of financial literacy, mindset absent of spiritual wellness becomes another splinter. And so if we only go to the level of the mind and miss the body, the heart, the purpose, the mission, then we're only going to these four walls of our brain. And while I personally totally geek out on neuroscience and the neuroplasticity of the mind and the beautiful ways that it's helping us and making it more difficult for us, I will speak about that for the rest of my career because I'm fascinated by it as a mental health therapist. But it is in a vacuum. Mindset is not enough here. We also need to look at, again, all these parts of ourselves as a whole and address the way our body feels in business, the way our finances, et cetera, feel. So mindset absolutely is a very strong component of the work. And because one of the core beliefs that I have is that there's only one thing in the whole wide world that we can actually change, one thing, and that is which thoughts we choose to energize. That's everything else is outside of our control. So I said before that we are the only ones that we can control, but really it's only whether this thought that's in my head right now is one that I'm going to give life to. Because we don't even control which thoughts pop into our brain. We just control whether we give them our attention, our energy, and our body, our business, etc. And so mindset is very key, but I don't believe it's the whole picture. I don't.
Yeah, and it's really good that you brought the other pieces of integration even before we talked about mindset, which means it's not like one that will fit it all, but it's many things that are coming together.
Mm-hmm.
There's one thing that I want to ask you. What happens when, let's say, an entrepreneur ignores personal well-being while growing their business? I mean, when we look at this piece of integration.
Mm-hmm. Well, any number of things can happen. What I can share with you is some trends that I see. So, one of the archetypes that I see, remember that masculine feminine spectrum that I was talking about? On the one side, the distorted masculine side of things, what ends up happening when we ignore well being from the distorted masculine's standpoint is we end up in the archetype that I call is the broke millionaire or maybe the broke billionaire, where you have all the money in the world and you've built an amazing business, but you have no relationships, no health, no joy. You have all the toys, but no one to share them with. And that is because you have prioritized the linear, the currency, at no costs. These are the folks who step on people's throats to get to where they want to go, and they have no regard to human life, frankly. And I'm over exaggerating for the purpose of a distortion. And so sometimes people will come to me where they hit that precipice. They're looking around and they think, I have all this money and all these toys. Where is everybody? It's because you've destroyed every relationship, including the one with yourself, in the process of building what you're looking to build. So that's one iteration. And then on the other side of that spectrum, in the feminine iteration, what happens with the feminine distortion is that these are the very the archetype is the starving artist. This is the person who has beautiful creativity and fluidity, and they're visioning for the future, and they see the goodness in everyone, but they have no structure, no attention to linear, no boundaries. And so they're while they have abundant creativity, they're not earning the only currency that is currently used in the human form, which is the dollar or the euro or wherever you are in the world, right? And so they don't have the currency exchange. They have the energy, they have the creativity, but they don't take energy and current and creativity at the bank, turns out. And so they come to me looking around, first of all, rejecting business. They often completely reject, I'm not a business owner, I'm an artist. I'm not a business owner, I'm an author. I'm a creator. And so I have to help them with that identity work to own that you are an artist and an entrepreneur. And do you want to create art and or do you want to sell the art? Like if you don't want to be the person who's going to sell the art, we need to ground the structure of your business with someone else selling it for you. And so we have to again integrate the masculine and feminine in order to control for those distortions that happen. And both of those people end up being pretty miserable if they don't have the help in the process.
Hey, at least that makes a lot of sense because you're talking about how people end up focusing on one side and really not on the other side, which is still bringing us to that integration, which I love the way you expatiate and you open up on it. And somebody listening might want to know, I mean, what are some tips for people to develop, the healthier habits where they could actually put some of this integration together, not just focus on the money, all that comes with it.
Mhm. So, the most important, most foundational piece that I offer everyone that's listening, but also everyone that I serve, is that we have to learn how to, what I call it is slow down and turn your eyeballs inward. We have to learn how to look inward. And for me personally, what this looks like is every single day before I start my day, I ask myself one question: what do you need, body and mind, in order to be the greatest expression of who you can be today in service to everyone that you touch, all the lives that you impact? And sometimes when I'm not feeling great, I'll begin thinking about all the names on my calendar of the people that I'm going to serve. And I begin building a remembrance of my kids' faces or my husband's face or the clients that I'm going to serve or the people that I get to podcast with. And I'll think about those people and say, what does my body, mind, spirit need? Turn my eyeballs inward and ask my body, my mind, my spirit, what do you need in order to be the greatest expression of yourself today? And then when you get good at this, your body, your mind, and your spirit start to talk to you. And they say, you need to run it out today, Raeanne. You need to get out there. You need to lift heavy weights. You need to move your body in big ways. Sometimes it'll say, you need to sit on the yoga mat in cross legged position and you need to meditate today. Today, you need to journal and you need to get some of those limiting beliefs out of your head. Today, you need to phone a friend. Today, you need to look at some comedians. Like, it'll give me information about what I need to do to shift my state into the highest possible consciousness to serve as many people as possible. And that's what I do, but I've been doing this now for decades. What it looks like when you're new to this is just to ask that question: what do you need, body? What do you need, mind? What do you need, purpose? And just to practice the art of looking at what's going on inside of you and responding. And you'll get better and better and better at this as you continue to practice. The most important, basic, foundational version of this is to learn how to practice writing out your thoughts. All of my clients do what I call CEO level thought work. If you're working with me, you're scheduling time in your calendar if you need to get the thoughts out of your brain, the emotions out of your body, onto a page so that you can create distance from them in a different perspective to begin looking at what's going on inside that brain of yours. And so it's like a muscle that you have to build. And now, because I've done this for so long for myself and for the people that I serve, we can state change from a terrible thing happening to this is a gift and I'm being guided in a moment's notice, which is awesome when you're able to do that.
I really love the way you capture that. I've heard that a couple of times, but I just love the way you capture it and mostly
Thank you.
looking inwards. I think that's a bigger one that I really hope a listener is actually getting that point is how do you look inwards in
Yeah.
yourself to be able to find those areas and the way you captured it on what do you need, body, really addressing the body as a person. What do
Yeah.
you need to be able to function properly, which is beautiful. There's something you had mentioned in the beginning that I want to ask you. You mentioned purpose driven. What does a purpose driven entrepreneur mean to you?
Well, I also use that word ikigai, but there's this intersection. Purpose is not just that which fulfills you. It's this gift inside of you. It's your reason for being that encompasses what creates satisfaction for you, fulfills a purpose for the greater good in the world, and it allows you to feel joy and connection, but it also is a manifestation of how you can get paid in the world. And I love that the ikigai is not mine. I can't take credit for that by any stretch of the imagination. It's a ancient Japanese teaching, and the fact that this is ikigai translation of purpose includes what you can get paid for is why business is so cool when you come from this business perspective of purpose. It's not only about the purpose of self fulfillment, It's transcending yourself in service to others, which is a part of the purpose, making a difference in the world. It's what you're actually good at, too. It's not just what fulfills you, it's also you got to be good at it. Because there are a lot of people who have something that they enjoy that fulfills them that they're just frankly not very good at. And also, how are we going to take that to the bank? It's this permission slip in business. It's okay to earn money in the effort of fulfilling what satisfies you, what helps the world, and what you're good at. And so that really it when I can help people find that core space of those four circles, it is like an explosion of happiness. And that's when people say I changed their lives, when we are able to decode those four circles and find the intersection of them. And then they can go out in the world and do amazing things.
I love that. I mean, it's what I would call a light bulb moment where you
Mm.
decode all of that and then they get a light bulb. And
Mm.
that's always so beautiful. I mean, for someone listening to you right now that's struggling, feeling stuck, overwhelmed, doesn't know where to begin, I want you to share a message with them.
Stuck is a decision. Make a different one. You're deciding every day when you're telling yourself, I'm stuck, I'm stuck, I'm stuck. That is the decision that you're remember I said that you choose which thoughts you energize. You're energizing, I'm stuck as your story. And so just for today, try on for size a different story. How about I'm growing, or I'm trying, or today is better than yesterday, or I'm only competing against myself? Find a different story to begin telling yourself and decide that is your story instead. You have to, if you're listening then and you've listened this long in our conversation, then you must now at least understand that you get to choose which thoughts you energize. And so energize a different story instead of the I'm stuck story. And what happens is that thought eventually becomes an emotion, and emotion is energy in motion. That energy in motion becomes new behaviors, which then becomes new results, which then becomes unstuckness. And so first you got to think as if you're not stuck, then feel will come soon after, then behavior will begin to move into unstuckness, and then the results will be an absence of stuckness. So just stop that. Stop telling yourself you're stuck and start telling yourself a different story and then behaving in alignment with that. And you'll see, even if it's one tiny foot in front of the other, you will begin momentum and movement in the right direction.
Beautiful message there. Beautiful message. So, Rianne, we have a tradition at the Voice of Impact. We have a
Mm.
word die. It has a
Yeah.
couple of words on it. You might not be able to see all the words, but I will definitely read it out for you to choose two. One that speaks to your own journey, and then one for somebody listening. So it's make a difference, rebuild, overcome, stronger, peace, and patience. I'll just repeat it again. Make a difference, rebuild, overcome, stronger, peace, and patience.
I'll pick patience first, and I'll pick that one for myself. One of the shadow sides of that word that I used earlier is urgency. Remember I said that. That's a gift that I bring to the work that I do. It's what's got me where I am right now, but it also can be challenging at times to remember that patience is a virtue. It's not my core strength, and it is certainly a part of my journey right now. High achievers, so hopefully anyone who's a high achiever who's listening, they want what's next yesterday. And there's a timeline that I'm practicing subscribing to, which is divine time. And that even though I want to move forward and help more people and serve more people faster, sooner, patience is part of the ingredients sometimes and building life and personal development and growth and change that is required in the journey. That we can't rush a seed to become a flower. We have to be patient with the process and enjoy the process along the way. So I say that to myself today, and hopefully it resonates with someone else who's listening, that patience is really an important part of the process too.
Thank you. Sorry, Anne, how can people connect with you? Maybe learn more about the integrated entrepreneur, explore your programs, and just know about your work, or maybe do business with you.
I would be honored if you'd reach out and connect with me. I am on basically all the main social media outlets: Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn is one that I frequent, as well as a website, all under the integratederentrepreneur.com. And so, if you'd like to find me, the Integrated Entrepreneur is actually easier to spell than my first and last name. So, do find me at the integratederentrepreneur.com or any of the major social media outlets. And I'd be honored to have a conversation with you, get to know you and your business, and support you in that next level identity that you're seeking.
Raeanne, thank you for reminding us that success is not just about building something externally, it's also about becoming something internally. Your work highlights a very powerful truth, which when entrepreneurs align with who they are, they build what they want to build, and it comes out of that personality and it becomes profitable and it builds an integration which is purposeful, fulfilling, and also brings them money.
I love it. What a beautiful way to sum it
Thank
all up.
you. We really appreciate the time that you took to spend with us today.
A joy to be here, Robert. Thank you.
To the person listening, your growth matters just as much as your goals. And sometimes, the most important investment you can make in your business is that investment in yourself. And that's exactly what Raeanne had been talking about, really touching on different angles, but personal investment is a very big one. And the most powerful businesses are built by leaders who are aligned with who they are. We're Ndoping and co-performance designers and strategy coaches, and we help leaders and organizations clarify, align, and create sustainable impact. This has been the Voice of Impact. Until next time, keep listening, keep building, and keep using your voice. Thank you for coming, Raeanne.
It's very simple. Empower as many people as possible. Empower as many leaders as possible. Touch as many, professionals as I can. Be able to make a difference.